I would want my children to learn kindness, and I would want them to learn that there's a path to redemption. And if you come, I would want them to learn how to apologize, because I feel like no one taught me that when I was a kid. My grandma used to make me, when I got in trouble, she would go, "You sit right there, and you're not allowed to move from that spot until you apologize." And I would not ever move. Like I would get mad.
Just sit there.
Well, and I remember thinking, like, what does she want from me? Like, what do you want from me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did something stupid. You know that. Like, what do you want from me? She never thought to teach me what an apology was, because when you first learn how to do it, and then what it means or what it should mean to you, it becomes a little bit easier. So I had to literally teach myself as an adult what a real apology was. And so I would never apologize. I think she'd end up spanking me after like 6 hours of sitting there and like, just go to bed. And so I repeated the cycle. I knew that that was it. The next time I got in trouble, I would just sit there forever. She'd eventually spank me and I could go to bed. And so it's like, she should have taken the time to go like, hey, an apology, like, or explain it to me. Like, hey, do you know what you did was bad? Yes. Yes, I do. Do you think that you'll do it again? I might. Okay. If you do it again, this is how it could affect people. Are you okay with that? No, I don't want to do that. Okay. So the apology says, hey, I know that I did this thing. And I want to move on from it. I want to take responsibility for it. I want to take these efforts to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I hope that you can forgive me for that. And the other person has the right to accept or decline your apology. But regardless of that, you still move on from it. And that's what an apology is, and you mean it. And you do, and by meaning an apology, you do your best to not repeat that same mistake again.
Exactly.
And I think that no one taught me that. And so as an adult, for the wrong reasons...
you can't just apologize just like to say it, just to make like everybody else
Well,
happy.
I think at first they should have taught me just how to say it, right? I think that's where you start. But yeah, eventually teaching me how to mean it. But I didn't know either one. And so it's like, I think that that's something I'll take when I have kids. I want them to know how to apologize, and I want them to know that it's okay to make mistakes. And that's what the apology is for.
Yeah, exactly.
The apology is not to say, I'm evil or I'm bad, I did a bad thing. The apology is to say, what I did wasn't what I was intending to do, or maybe it was, and I've now reflected and I no longer feel that way. So I want to let you know that I'm sorry.
It's trying to, you know, make kids understand what they did wrong.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and take responsibility for it and know what it feels like to have that burden of like, dang it, like I can't do that again. And if I do, I'm gonna have to apologize again. And it makes my first apology not mean that much. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do that. And it holds you accountable for the actions that you have. And I think that's important. The other part, since we're talking about apologies and not just with parenting, here's my theory on apologies, because I feel like apologies are misunderstood. I think there's this weird thing where people think if you apologize, you have to accept it. And that's just not true. And I think that people like think that like it's the right thing to do. Have you ever seen either a parent or a person like, dude, you should forgive them, they apologized? And it's like, no, they don't have to. They did the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, it also, like, it depends on the situation of what happened. Like,
yeah, and it's up to that person. Even if it's silly, like, that's the whole point of apology. Apologies aren't, like, you didn't earn the right to be forgiven. You asked for it. Asking for something means there's an option to say no. And it doesn't literally mean sometimes they don't literally go, no, I don't accept your apology. Sometimes they do that. But sometimes they just go, cool, man. Like, thanks. That's it. And that's fine. And if they never forgive you, then that's their thing. I mean, you've talked about this, about stuff. It's like asking genuinely for forgiveness is also understanding that you may not get it. And maybe you have to earn it. Maybe you have to go a year or two with showing that you're not the same person anymore before that person finally goes, hey, I want to hang out. Maybe they never verbally accept it, but they accept you back in their life again, maybe, and you guys now have a relationship again. It was their version of accepting it. But you can't be mad at someone who doesn't accept your apology. And I'll tell you exactly where this comes from for me. I struggle a lot with forgiveness with my mom. And I can honestly say she's never really asked for forgiveness. Not really. This is a real apology when I'm talking about that. She has said, like, I'm sorry, sweetie, like I never meant to do that. I'm gonna make it better. Which on paper sounds like a real apology, but she never makes it better. She always does it again. And so it's like I have an issue accepting her apology, but I think that she feels like, well, I apologize because I don't answer her calls pretty much. I haven't talked to her in at least 2 years. She calls every week, usually drunk, leaves me a voicemail, same exact voicemail. Sweetie, it's your mom. It's Carol. Like I don't know her
Like
goddamn name. I just want to say I love you and I miss you and I'm sorry for everything I did. Call me, sweetie. Bye. And it's the same thing minus a few words every now and then. And she calls every week, and I haven't talked to her in like 2 years, and she keeps doing it. And when I tell that story to people, people typically go like, well, dude, she apologized. Like, you should call her.
I mean, is it like a real apology though?
It isn't.
Like,
And maybe
yeah,
sometimes this gets deeper. I think sometimes people deserve forgiveness even though they haven't earned it. I'm not that good of a person yet where I can do that. I hope to be one day. But I think that I hate when people tell me, like, dude, you should just forgive her because she said that. Like, no, she hasn't earned it, man. Plus, even if she has earned it.
Forgiveness has to come at, everybody's different as far as forgiveness goes. Like, it always takes every single person on this planet either longer or shorter to forgive somebody. Like, it's easy for somebody on the outside to say, oh, you should just forgive them. Like,
yeah. And I think it comes from a good place. I don't ever get mad at people.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
But when it happens a bunch, I eventually, like, in my head, I'm like, Jesus Christ, should I? And I think I've done that in the past where I've like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And then she hurts me again. And I'm like, you know what, like, I can't.
And I've gone through a lot of that, like, with my dad. You know, I have a past with my dad, and, you know, I had a lot of built up anger towards him, like, for a long time, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up just, like, being able to forgive him for, you know, what he did, you know, when I was younger. And it was more for me than him. Like, that's how I saw that's how I see forgiveness. It's for you. It's not for the other person. It's able to, not the whole, like, forgive and forget type of deal. But it's just releasing yourself from that hatred or anger. I was gonna combine hatred and anger together as hanger. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I ended up forgiving my dad, and, you know, like I said, it's not a forgive and forget type of deal. Like, you know, I'll always remember, like, what happened.
Yeah.
But you know, it doesn't mean that just because, like, I forgave my dad, like, I have to let him in my life, like, because I haven't talked to my dad also in, like, 2 years.
Yeah.
I hadn't talked to him for since high school up until, I'd probably say, like, 4 years ago. I kind of, like, reached out to him, you know, to possibly try and have a relationship with him. But I realized that, you know, when I talk to him, like, I would talk to him, like, a few times a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized after, like, having those few, like, conversations with him that he was still in his same mindset that I didn't do anything wrong. So
when you mean he feels that he didn't do anything?
Yeah, he feels that he didn't do anything wrong. So there wasn't even, like, an apology on his end.
Like, ever,
because he has that mindset, I didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, he claims to be, like, super religious, like, he's a Christian, and he would always throw, like, you know, like, I guess you would say, like, throw the Bible at me, like, saying, oh, well, I'm your father, and you're supposed to always love your father no matter what.
Honor thy father.
Yeah, like, all that. And, you know, I would tell him, you know, yeah, you are my father, but, you know, and I have forgiven you for what, you know, you've done in the past, but that doesn't mean, like, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I'm reaching out to you on my own, like myself. But yeah, like I said, like, once I realized that he was still in that same mindset of he didn't do anything wrong, like, I just had to cut him off.
And how do you feel about him, like, as of today? Do you still feel like you've forgiven him, even though finding that out, like, where he didn't really take accountability anyways?
Yeah, I mean, I've let go. I mean, it does suck, you know, not having, you know, my father still. Like, I've had father figures throughout my life, you know, since he's been gone. But like as far as like hatred and all the anger that I used to have towards him, like no, I don't have that anymore. And like, I still to this day I believe I've forgiven him. Even though, like I said, he's in that mindset, I didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Do you feel more at peace? Do you feel like your life's been better since that happened?
yeah, I do. Like I said, like I was able to let go of all that hatred and anger towards him. And because I've always been like, I'm not like especially around that time, like I didn't have a lot of outward anger.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of anger inside, like with myself. um and since I've forgiven him, and I tried reaching out to him, but it didn't work out like I kind of hoped. But I just moved on from that. And I'm just trying to live my life, I guess, just as happy as I can be.
Yeah. I, I admire that about you. I think that's pretty cool. I admire that about anyone that can take that, because I know it's the right thing to do. When people say that, you should sometimes forgive people even if they don't deserve it. Everything you just said, I hear that from people. Like, hey, sometimes forgiveness isn't for you; it's for them.
It's for the other person. Yeah,
dude, I want nothing more than to feel that. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get to that place. I hope I do, because I think I deserve peace.
Yeah, and I hope you do too, honestly.
And on paper, if I were to read all these things, or even hearing it from you, they all sound good. I just don't know how to do that, if I'm being honest, man. I don't know what it is with me. I go to counseling. I feel great in counseling. Here's how I feel about it. I went through a phase where I'd accept her apology a lot, and I'd go see her. Every time I hang out with my mom, I don't feel good about myself. I never leave thinking I'm really, really glad I did that. It's the opposite. I hate myself a little bit more. I'm a little bit more heartbroken. Like, the most times I've ever cried in my life were because of her or with her. And so it's like, and then I stop.
So it's like every time like you would leave, you'd feel like, why do I keep doing this?
Sometimes while I'm still there, and I'm like, what am I even doing here? And then the weird part is sometimes I feel that and I still stay there for like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah. Like, I've spent hours with my mom, and at the end of it, like, felt worse about myself. I get depressed. I come home. I get snappy at people. Like, I feel like I take the feelings maybe that I felt towards her out on other people. Yeah. And so it's just, I don't feel like I'm in a good place. And then since those couple of years ago where I stopped talking to her, my life got better. And that's the only reason why I keep doing it and it genuinely did. I think when people hear this story, or maybe even you right now, when you're hearing it, people always think it's going to come back to haunt you, or you're just bottling it up. I don't feel that way. I'm talking about it right now with you. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't feel like it's bottled, but I do know that my life is better. I do know I'm happier. And I do know that, like, yes, I'm sad in moments. I get sad when I listen to that voicemail every time. Yeah. But I get happier more often not being in her life or allowing her to be in mine than I do when she is. And so for whatever reason, I've been the most successful in the last 2 years. Like, I've moved like jobs, I've gone up in pay increase, you know what I mean? I've gone to the gym a lot more. I started this podcast. Like, my life is going in a good place. I got engaged. I'm gonna get married, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm gonna buy a house. Like, all these good things are happening. Like, I have a better relationship with my brother now. Like, all these things. My foster family. Yeah. Like, everything's getting better. And so now I'm like, why would I ever, like, my heart and my gut knows that I eventually am going to have to forgive her. But I'm in a really good place that I don't want to mess that up. And every time I dive into that, like, something gets a little messed up. Yeah. And so it's just like weird for me. But I admire you for that. You feel
best to just leave it alone completely.
Like, yeah, at least for now. Like, part of me thinks that there will be a time where I get an actual apology. And I don't know if that's just setting myself up to be really hurt in the future or not, because I'm not expecting that. But if I had to guess my future, like, I feel and hope that there'll be a time where she actually does. I think she'll be dying. Like, I know that sounds bad to say. I think she'll literally question her own mortality. Maybe she's at a hospital. Maybe she's in the middle of passing away, and she goes, you know what? Like, I need to talk to Will. Maybe if I ever see it, like, I think that would be the moment. Not that I want it to be that way, but I literally think that's the only way. If even then, that she'll, like, be genuine about her apology.
She'll actually reckon, yeah, and I mean, like you said, you don't want it to come to that, you know. But I mean,
Yeah, I definitely don't want it to come to that, because I don't want that to be the same with my other relationships. Yeah. And so it's like I want to be the person that's really good at forgiving, and I want my kids to forgive. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everything I do, I relate to like I'm such a planner that I go, what is this quality like, Will? This, whatever quality it has. Like, even me trying to cuss less on the podcast, it's like I don't want to be a cussing dad. And so it's like I little things like that. I pick things out and I go, how will this affect my children that I don't have yet? Yeah. But that's the way I like live my life. I like to think ahead and think, what can I do to be better for them? So I think about that.
No, that's good. That's good that you have that mindset.
I want to be able to teach my kids forgiveness. And so I feel like I need to get over this hurdle with my mom before I could truly do that. I know my advice is good, but like I want to be able to tell them like that I've done that as well. Yeah. And so I think that's just going to make me a better parent. So it's a goal of mine, dude. Like, if there's an opportunity that pops up, I for sure will step on it. But I like hearing your story because it makes me feel good that it's possible. It makes me feel good that other people are doing it. And it makes me feel good that maybe one day I will have my aha moment and like figure that out. But yeah, as of right now, my life is pretty good without it. So that's the way I live it, man.